I want to show you a breakdown, step by step, of how you can use real estate and rental income here in Australia to actually retire. Now, I'm going to bring back something that I haven't brought back on the channel for over a few months. It's the whiteboard, but it's the new and improved version, so I'm not going to put you through my shitty handwriting, and we're going to jump straight in. If you're interested, keep watching. Hey guys, my name is Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we talk about real estate, cryptocurrency, and financial freedom while I showcase my amazing handwriting skills that I learned in year 3. What I want to do in this video is jump into the whiteboard, the new and improved version, and showcase how we can look at this visually and how we can break down two specific goals, which is basically a short-term retirement plan and a long-term retirement plan. This is all about early retirement and just using real estate, how this is possible. Now, what I want to do is not just showcase, some random numbers. I'm going to actually use numbers from a deal we did last week for a client. Let's jump into the whiteboard now. Okay, so as I've mentioned, this is early retirement, right? Early retirement through real estate in Australia. So what I want to do is a few assumptions here is that our goal is to generate $85,000 per year, okay? Now, we are going to try and achieve this just purely through real estate, but as you know, on this channel, I've got over 150 videos. I talk about other asset classes too. I think the real gain here and really moving into early retirement is through a combination of these assets and using the velocity of money. But I want to showcase how easy it actually is to get to this point. So we've got two goals, right? So we're going to call them A and B. So A, our goal is to generate $30,000 a year. And the reason we want to do this is because this will allow us to maybe shift from full-time hours to part-time hours, maybe gives us a few more hours with our family or time for us to work on a side hustle. Our second goal is full retirement. So that's the $85,000 per year that we want to generate. Okay, so we're going to call this short term, and this will be long term. Now, as you know, early retirement, we're not looking at how we do this at the age of 85 or at the age of 90. We want to get to this at an early retirement age. We want to do this in our 40s, 50s, and 60s and retire on our own terms. So that's exactly what we're going to showcase here. And for the purpose of this, there's a few assumptions that we're going to take into place. So if these assumptions are different to your situation, just adapt the numbers. It all makes sense. Now, assumption 1 is that you're starting at the age of 28. Now, why have I picked 28? Well, it doesn't matter if you're 27, you're 31, it doesn't matter. Just use the assumptions, use the numbers, and appropriate it to your own situation. So let's assume that you started full-time work at 21. So that's usually when you start full-time work. So that means in 7 years, if you saved just $10,000 a year, which I think is fair, a year would mean you start with $70,000 to start, okay? So we know that our goal number 1 is $85,000. So we've got A and B, which is short term being $30,000, long term being $85,000. Now the assumption here is that we're starting at 28 with a starting value of $70,000, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the first property with in-depth numbers, but after that we're just going to summarize it all so we move fairly quickly. But I do want to give you context. I want to use real numbers here. So let's start with our first property. So property number 1. And we're really trying to figure out how many properties do we need to get to these numbers, and I'm going to break that down in this video. So this is a property that we bought in regional New South Wales last week for a client, and the purchase price for that, so purchase price was $350,000. The deposit was $35,000, so that's a 10% deposit. Now, these are numbers that you can also use as part of your own plan to, see how much you need before you get started in buying property and all the upfront costs. So your deposit was $35,000. You then had stamp duty, which was $10,000. You then had conveyancing. You had inspections. And we've just put here as $3,000 for that. Now in this case, they obviously used a buyer's agent. You may not need to, but a buyer's agent here, the cost was $15,000. So our total cost up front was So total cost upfront was $63,000. So this leaves $7,000 as an emergency fund, okay? Now keep in mind, the way that we operate here is a bit different to maybe some other buyer's agents, is that we don't take our fee up front, we take a deposit up front, then we get the remainder of the payment closer to settlement. So that's something else you need to consider is, yes, we've got $7,000 here, but that is higher at the start of this property purchase. And as you go through the settlement process, you'll then buffer up this emergency fund as well. So now that we know what our total outgoing fee is, right, we're just gonna highlight this, so make it all pretty. That's our outgoing to get into this property. So now what we want to do is we want to figure out the cash flow position, okay? Now as part of the acquisition phase, we want to keep cash flow high. We also want to go out there, acquire as much in terms of assets. So we're going with an interest-only loan, okay? So interest-only loan amount. And here it'll be at an LVR at 90%, okay? So the loan amount is $315,000, and we're going to do that at 2.6%. That's what the client actually did, and that's going to work out to be $8,190 per year. Okay, so then you've got other expenses. So you've got rates and insurance, and that's roughly about $4,000 a year. You then have your property management fees. Property management fees, which would work out to be $1,500 a year. And we then have an amount there for repairs, because I've made previous videos and I didn't put that into the calculation because I didn't think it needed to be in the calculation because these aren't things that happen every year. But we're going to leave a buffer here for potential repairs that could come up. And so as a buffer, we've put here as repairs of $1,000 a year. And then we also have vacancy. So again, when we're purchasing property, we're really focusing on how do we get into locations that have high rental demand where we aren't faced with vacancies for long periods of time. So for over here, I'm actually just going to put in 2 weeks, which would be at rental of $380, would be $720 in total, okay? So now we are here trying to figure out our total outgoings, which would be $15,450, total outgoings, okay? We know what our expenses are. So our outgoing payment is $63,000, we'll have $7,000 left emergency fund. We've gone in interest only at an LVR of 90%, which means our loan amount is $315,000 at 2.6%. This means that our repayments a year are $8,190. Our rates and insurance payments are $4,000 a year. Our property management fee is $1,500. Our repairs are $1,000 a year. Again, we don't know if this is actually going to happen. We just put an emergency buffer in place. And vacancy, if it's at $380 per week, that would be $720, okay? And that gives us the total of $15,450. Now, you probably have already figured out what our rent is going to be. So rent for this property is $380 per week, okay? So if we were to get that to be an annualized figure, that would work out to be $19,760. Now you're already seeing that our income is a lot higher than our expenses, and this is what is defined as a positive cash flow property. So in order to figure out our year-end cash flow, we would just go 15,450 minus 19,760, which would equal $4,310 a year, or would be $82 per week, okay? So this is a very important figure to remember because we're going to really break it down as to why this is so important. So we expect the value of this property to grow by an average of 7% long term. Now, some people may be watching this video at this point have gone, okay, you're telling me I can buy a house for $350,000, and yes, I'm talking about a brick home. Then you're telling me it's going to rent for $380 a week. Okay. And then you're telling me it's going to grow by 7% a year. Now, I think that's quite a conservative number for people purchasing properties. Our clients that were purchasing over the last couple of years, they've been basically averaging out anywhere from 10 to 14%. I've broken down my exact portfolio as well, and it averages out to be in the low teens as well. So I'm thinking 7% is quite conservative, but for this video, that's what we're going to use. So if we have capital growth, at 7% a year per annum, that would equate to $24,500 per year, and that would be compounding, okay? Now, obviously we've learned at school compounding growth is amazing, and you're gonna find out why very shortly. But our return on investment, cash on cash, and I'm gonna explain what that exactly means, right? So what cash on cash actually means is, what is my return on the exact number I've put in versus how much am I getting out? So over here, you'll see, although the property is actually worth $350,000, what it is that we're trying to figure out how much do we put into this deal? We had $70,000, we bought this property and it cost us $63,000 to purchase. So at the end of the year, I want to know, what is my cash on cash return? And for that, we need to figure out what our returns are. So we've got 2 points here, right? So we've got 2 points that we need to make note of. We've got 4,310, which is our cash flow, but then we also have our actual capital growth. So when we combine the two, we're going to go 4,310 plus 24,500, and that would equal 28,810, right? So then we need to divide that number by what we put in, which was $63,000 to purchase the property, and that would mean our return on investment equals 46%. Okay, so let's just put that into context. If I was to go and put this money into the bank, I'm earning 0.01%, right? Or something ridiculous. If I go and put that money into shares and ETFs, which averages about 10 to 15% growth, well, then I'm getting 10 to 15%. Here, because I can use leverage and, if I'm smart with my money, I can get 46% as a return on investment after 1 year. This is why people with real estate, the rich and how they get richer, and what Robert Kiyosaki talks about is, how do we get to a position where we can use leverage, like the smart guys, and then be able to go in, buy real estate, and then be getting some ridiculous amounts of growth. Now, if you want to see how you can do this yourself, create a strategy, then there's a link in the description below to Confusion to Clarity, which is my online course that I created for people in Australia to really go and create their own step-by-step process to hit whatever numbers they want. So use the knowledge from these videos that I bring out on YouTube, and if you really want to extend that and execute and action things a lot quicker, then definitely go check out that link in the description below. So what we want to do now is we want to start looking at our goals. So we've got goal A, which is $30,000 a year. And we've got goal B, which is $85,000 per year. Okay, so long-term and short-term. So how do we get to this? This is 2 steps to the financial freedom process that we take. Now that we know the numbers from property 1, let's see how close we are to achieving our final goals. So here for short-term goal, which is $30,000. So we already know we're getting 4,310 in cash flow. So our goal of $30,000, right? This means we are already 14% of the way there to get to financial freedom in stage A. So what does that look like for stage B? Well, we know that we need $85,000, but we also know this is a long-term sort of process. So this could be 25 years, could be 30 years. Now, as I said before at the beginning of this video, I don't rely on just real estate to grow my wealth. This is why I think more people are coming across and having strategy sessions, chatting to me around, becoming clients, is because we're not interested in how do we take on debt, how do we just accumulate all these properties and hold them for like 40 years and then retire in our 60s comfortably. I'm looking at how do we retire in our 30s and 40s and 50s and do that in a sustainable way, but also diversified. So I look at other asset classes like cryptocurrency, I look at trading cards as well. So now we've paid down our debt, 25 years, 30 years from now. So what we're looking at here is how much are we having to pay as a cash flow basis for holding the property, which would be like your rates and insurances. And this would work out to be $12,500 $85,500. And when you divide this by $85,000, which is the ultimate goal, we've already hit 15%. So how many do we need to get to this number? This is the key number here, okay? So I'm gonna put this in green because this is what you've been waiting for. All right, so in order to hit both this number here and this number here, we need to have 7 properties that we need to have purchased. And those 7 properties, if we used in, say, A, that would mean 4,310 times 7. That would give us 30,130. If we did that for our long-term option, which would be 12,500 times 7, this would give us 87,500. Now, this also accounts for the fact that the average price for the properties you buy are at $350,000, okay? And if we did that across 7 properties, that would equal a portfolio of 2.45 million, and at an average growth at 7% per year, per annum, that would be 171,500 per year compounding, which is massive. Because if you really realize what we're doing here is we have pretty much a savings account that's grown to $2.4 million. And yes, you do have debt, but you're gonna pay down that debt at some point. Now, the other thing is that you've got now an asset base that's just growing, and it's just gonna keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. And the thing is, it's gonna compound, which is the biggest thing in this process, because this number here will change from 171 this year. It'll go up by another $10,000 and then go up again and go up again. And this is how we can attain financial freedom, not just from a cash flow perspective or not just from a capital growth perspective, but how do we use all of it together? Now, before I finish up here, obviously, if you've liked this content, then definitely drop me a like for the video and share this with someone that needs to see it if they haven't been explained this properly before. But thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you have liked the new and improved whiteboard version of these videos, then definitely leave me a comment down below. And if you want to see more of that, let me know. But if you are interested in more content around NFTs, crypto, real estate, and the macro economy, then definitely go and sign up to my Patreon. That's where I'm sharing information every single day. And that's it from my end. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys.